Hey guys, welcome to this new video. Today I want to talk about the 5 myths and the 5 misconceptions foreigners have about Vietnam. So, a quick word about myself. I come from France, so I come from developed countries, and I've been living in Vietnam for about 5 years. So I will try to give you my honest feedback and my honest thoughts that I had before coming here, and finally that I was totally wrong. And I want this video to be totally without bullshit, right? So I want really to tell you what was my assumption before coming here, and finally what I discovered here, and when finally I decided to really stay here and live in Vietnam. So the first misconception I had about Vietnam, it was the entrepreneurial mindset. Because when I came here, I was a digital nomad, right? So I came here, I had my backpack, I just come here as a tourist, travel the country. Actually, when I came to Vietnam, one of my first experience here was to bought a motorbike with a friend of mine. We bought it in Ho Chi Minh City, and we across the country up to Hanoi. So at that time, I didn't really get involved with the real local community. I mean, really the people who are living here. And I just come here with my tourist eyes. And of course, I had a very good experience, right? Of course, everything was nice. I spent about a month on my motorbike, traveling the whole country. Have very good memories even now when I remember about some of the anecdotes and funny stories I had with my friend at that time. It was like mostly a very good experience. But after, when I finally spent more time here, I could also gather more with the entrepreneur, the business people, some investor also who choose Vietnam as a place to do business and to invest. And it was not something I had in mind before. When I just come here, for me, Vietnam, people wouldn't just do those kind of things here, right? Just because the fact that it's a communist country / socialist, it's a country that just is growing, is emerging. So I had this misconception about the people and really the life that some people could have here. And finally, when I spend more time in Ho Chi Minh City, so it's a big megalopolis of about 10 million inhabitants, then here I could really feel the vibe, and I could really connect with some entrepreneur people that decided to come here 10, 15 years ago. And they were sharing me about their story also on the entrepreneurship aspect. And finally, I realized that Vietnam is also somehow a golden place to become an entrepreneur. So, of course, there is a lot of regulations, a lot of pitfalls, a lot of limitations for foreigners. We're going to discuss a little bit about that in the upcoming videos and also in this video. But it was not something I had in mind first when I just arrived. And that's why after, when I figured it out that it could be a place also to do business and to invest, I changed my perspective about Vietnam, and then I got kind of more commit and more involved with the local community, being more aware about the potential opportunities, and that's how, after, I changed my perspective about Vietnam. So the first myth most foreigners have about Vietnam is that this is not a place to be an entrepreneur. And again, when you spend time here, you really see that finally, because people don't have any social system here, you know, everything is just new. Social and retirement plan has been implemented only recently. When you meet like millennials, people who have 20, 25, 30 years old, their parents teach them that they have to do things by their own, and they have to be somehow self-employed, somehow try to do business on the side. And this is this vibrant community and mindset that you have here, that is very nice when you also are into this entrepreneurship mindset, and maybe you want to think differently, think outside of the box, and you don't want to follow a traditional path that is mostly common in modern and developed countries. Now, the second thing I didn't know about Vietnam, it was about the politics. I saw that here everyone was following the politics, everyone was following the rule, like you see in China, everyone was pro what the government was doing. And finally, when you really gather with the young community here, mostly again the entrepreneur, the people who are thinking new trends, who are thinking innovation, people who have, for instance, companies that are manufacturing goods to sell overseas, people who are also, for instance, into blockchain investment. Those people, you'd see that they don't follow at all what the politics are doing. And why? Because I think they know that here everything is very, a hierarchy, that the system is like this, and it's a one-party government, right? So things won't really change. So because of that, they will be more having, again, this entrepreneurship mindset. I would try to do things by their own. I remember every time I go to France, every time I have this cultural and reversal cultural shock, because people in the morning while having their coffee, they discuss about the last thing that the president said last night, pros and cons, why the guy is wrong, why the guy is good on that directive. Here you never see that. People talk about what did you do last night, what did you enjoy, what will be your next trip. Okay, do you have this new business idea and do you want to implement this new business idea on the side? I'm not saying that it's everyone who are thinking like that, but I feel that there are more people in Vietnam that have this mindset. And again, every time I come back to France, it's everywhere, right? People are talking about politics. People are complaining a lot. People are going on strike a lot. I'm not saying that it's not good to go on strike, but here you tend to see that people will be more like, it's not something that really matter here. It's not the main thing we should think about, and we can take and handle our life and our future differently. So people, I feel here, they are more optimistic as well. And that's the third item I'm going to discuss in this video. Because you have this, again, just emerging country. They see a lot of foreigners coming here during the last 3 to 5 years. There were really a huge spotlight made on Vietnam just because the country just opened a law, for instance, investor investing in real estate. It's more easy to open companies as a foreigner. I mean, there is just more opportunities here. And then just when you see how complicated is it in developed countries, just like France, and the tax system, and just the fact that the system is very old, but doesn't really want to change or don't really want to innovate. And you see other countries that are more, for instance, here in Singapore or in Estonia, countries that are more paperless, that are more having more tax incentive. Of course, in Vietnam, it's still a socialist country. I'm not saying that everything is good here and everything is transparent and everything is easy. But I feel that there is more open people and an open culture that are more going pro-innovation, pro-entrepreneur. And of course, when you are someone who have this mindset, I feel that it's easier to work and to be surrounded by people who are somehow thinking the same as you. Sometimes make and realize that the government and the politics are not here to help you. They are not your mother. They are not here to help you when you are having troubles. We see during COVID that the government, they don't really take care of the business owner. They don't give a shit, actually. If you have a company in France, first you pay a lot of taxes, but when you are in trouble, they are not here to help you. You don't even have your own wage if your company bankrupt. I mean, in the West, most of the countries, they are not pro-entrepreneurs. And here is something that you also think they will be the same, and finally you are totally wrong. So again, it's not always easy, it's not always nice, but for my own perspective, being here for 5 years, is going in a good direction. And I'm coming to the third point, what I feel here in Vietnam, but not only. When I travel to Malaysia, I spent more than 6 months in Cambodia as well. I feel that here the vibe in Asia is that people will be more optimistic. People will, again, think more that they have in their own hand the control. If they go study, they go to maybe universities, they will see that if they learn English, if they can think outside of the box, if they can work for an international company rather than to a local company, maybe be more like entrepreneur-oriented rather than government-oriented. Of course, some families who are, if you have the whole family working for the government, as a Vietnamese, you would just follow the path of your dad, of your mother, and work for the government, and probably just because they have good connections, it will be easier for you, right? But for people who come from a suburb area, I have many friends from Mekong, from Dalat, for instance, they come here in Ho Chi Minh City for opportunities. And most of them, they speak better English than I speak. They have more awareness about what happened in the West and why so many people are attracted by Asia. You feel that here they are way more open. And this is not the same thing you have in China, for instance. And to relate about that, there is a Scottish economist called Tyler in the 18th century. And he found it that there is different cycles in economy. And probably here we're going to see the golden age of Asia. We're going to see that everyone is optimistic. Everyone is wants to have abundance. Everyone is willing to take risks and to just improve their life. That the health system is improving. That the social system has just been implemented. That some all people can start to pay for their retirement plan. You know, it's the same as what we had in the West, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years ago, just after the war. And when you talk to our grandparents, they say that it was a golden age. So this analysis of that person called Tyler, that economist, is very interesting, and he really showed the perspective and show how the mentality of the people in different countries will be different. And I feel that now in the West, because people already have abundance, already have the government that is backing them, already have somehow, if they don't want to do anything, they will have a minimum wage that is given to them, then people will tend more to complain. And of course, on the other side, you have the government that is getting more control over them and that asking more things. In France, if you want to plant a tree in your garden, you are not free to plant the tree everywhere. You have to respect, 2 meters from your gate. It's almost like tomorrow they're gonna decide what is the new color that you have to put in your toilet, right? So those rules are just here in developed countries, but here in emerging countries, that's not that. You have somehow a free mind and a free way of doing things that allow people just, if they have an idea, if there is a new concept, to at least get started easily. After, of course, you will have, when you are really having a strong business, then of course you will have maybe the government, the authorities, the taxes that are gonna come over and check on you. Nothing is perfect, but I feel that just because of the current society and the fact that the country just opened, there are more opportunities. Or at least when you talk to millennials, to the Gen Z, to people who are maybe older than myself, maybe 35, 40, then those people are very optimistic. So this is the third thing that I fear here, that here we are in a somehow golden age of the Asian countries that is really deep in the mindset of the people you're gonna meet, and that in the West, it's something that is not going so well, and especially you feel it in the mindsets of people regarding to the hope they have in their governance. Now we come to the fourth point, and the fourth misconception I had about Vietnam before coming here. So it was maybe 7, 8 years ago. When I told my parents that I would go to Asia, they were very scared, and they were like, wow, you are going to a third world country. Over there you have to be careful. People are selling drugs. People will put drugs in your backpack and they will put you in jail. So this is something, and this is this idea we have in the West, right? But finally, when you come to Asia, even if obviously when you check the statistic, average of my friends earn $500, $600, $700 per month in Ho Chi Minh City. And when you go to the countryside, people will earn what? Maybe $150 per month, $200 per month. But when you compare to the safety, there is no correlation. So it's not because you go to a poor country, because you go to a country that most of the people will earn less than $400 per month, that everyone will try to snatch your phone, to try to rob you, and that you will find scam everywhere. It's totally a misconception. In Asia, I remember going out very late and going back out very late in Phnom Penh, sometimes crossing some very dark streets in capital cities, in Ho Chi Minh City a lot, but as well as in suburb areas in Cambodia, in Battambang, everywhere, in Kep, taking my back's legs. I had also problems of my back, and every time I had to face locals and to ask help from locals, I was never like having people who try to have an idea of stealing me. I have some girl here, some friends, they travel here alone, and they have some of the best experience I think ever, just because when you are a solo traveler here, Vietnamese people, I mean, in all Asia, in all Southeast Asia, people will try to be like, I admire you and say, wow, you come here from far, you are visiting our countries, sometimes even if you have a motorbike, people will be amazed by what you are doing, and you don't necessarily know the language, you don't really have necessarily a plan to sleep overnight. And most of those people, they will be super friendly, they will just be super welcoming. Most of the time, they will even invite you. How many times I had people inviting me for the restaurant, they wanted to pay for my lunch, and they are probably earning 10 times less than what I earn, but still, they were super friendly and super welcoming. So it's a huge misconception you have. And of course, I'm going to talk about safety. I'm sure there will be people saying, no, it's totally wrong, Guillaume. If you go to Bui Vien, you will have people that are going to try to take your backpack. I had my phone on the table and they snatched my phone. Of course, you have this as well, right? I mean, if you go to the most crowded places, people see that you are a tourist, people see that you are drunk. Kids will just snatch your phone, and for them, imagine $200, $300. It's maybe a month of salary that you get. So of course they will do it. But it's just because you are stupid. It's just because you left your phone on the table. And it's always fun to see that some people, they live in emerging countries like that for 6-7 years. They had never any problem. I remember also the story of an old dude in Cambodia. He was living, I think, in Cambodia for 2 or 3 years. And he told me and my friends, we were living there for less than a year, that over there he got 3 or 4 times robbed at the ATM. It's just because those people, they are maybe just having this on their face, right? And just, I don't know, are they too naive? Are they too not, I don't know, enough careful? Do they trust people too much as well, right? I'm not saying you should trust everyone, but with just basic sense of seeing when you can be potentially in danger and just being just natural, friendly, and be nice. I feel that you will just attract people that like look like you, or just people won't try to do bad tricks on you. So anyway, talked a little bit too long about that, but it was the fourth item is like safety in Vietnam and in all Asia. It's a myth that many people have, and most of the people will share you about like very nice and welcoming experience they have in this part of the world without any fear of any robber or any danger they fall into. Now we come to the 5 and last thing, like misconception people have about being in Vietnam. And here I'm going to talk more for the people who are investors, entrepreneurs. I had a company in France. I did business for maybe 2-3 years with a friend there. We opened our company. It was a startup, so we tried to surf the trend of e-commerce. And then it was good lesson. Finally, we had to close that company because it didn't work. But it was my kind of first real entrepreneurship lessons I had there and experience. So when I did that, I remember it was very complicated. So maybe because I was also young, I was maybe 21 at that age. So it was new for me, but I feel it very hard, very complicated. And when now I own a company in Vietnam. And here I feel that when you just work with local people, Vietnamese people, most of the time you will have good experience. So of course, you can also find many people that gonna try to overcharge you just because they will see you coming as a foreigner, as someone who doesn't know how things work. They may try to overcharge you. This is things that you have here. Okay, don't talk about bullshit here. So you will have this for sure. I also share on my book. You can have a look actually if you are more into this investment and business mindset about the 7 mistakes I made while coming to Asia and meeting lawyers, meeting accountants here. I share about some of the lessons I learned. So you can have a look in the description and download this ebook. This is for free, so you can have a look and learn more about that. But just to develop a little bit more about this misconception about doing business and more operating business. When you come here, when you do things properly, either you find a trustworthy partner, it can be a local, and then you will, for instance, incorporate the company under that local, or just you choose to be 100% in control on your company. So as a foreigner, you can own 100% of the share of your company here. It's most of the sectors, any kind of consulting service business, it's possible, manufacturing as well. There are some limitations in some business fields, but I would say 90% of the business you want to open in Vietnam, you can do it 100% as a foreigner. So the myth that you have here is that because it's a communist and socialist country, it's very hard. But finally, I feel that it's totally the opposite. I feel that in France, when I was dealing with my accountant and when I wanted, to optimize the income of my company, obviously when you get started, when you earn, I don't know, $5,000, you want to maximize the earning, right? You want that in the end of the day, in your pocket, you have the maximum of that. And then when you go there and when you ask your accountant, I take a flight to go to Paris, I'm going to visit my parents in south of France, can I put this under the company expenses? Most of the time it will be no. Most of the time he will tell you, no, Guillaume, it's not possible to do that. And when you come here, when you know that, of course, we are talking about a fresh startup, right, or fresh entrepreneurs. I'm not talking about $1 million companies. When you are doing $1 million business, I think that this is not your problem anymore to do that. But when you are just starting here, when you deal with accountant, lawyers, most of the time it will be, yes, it's possible. So just you want to optimize a little bit your taxes. You want to find ways, of course, to finally, again, get more money in your pocket. Then this is possible here. And just because, again, this is an emerging country, then there are more ways to do it. So, of course, when you talk to an accountant, he will tell you where is the limit. But I feel that here you have more flexibility into doing that. So it's always impressive. And I always, sometimes, even after 2 years, after 2 years running a company here, sometimes I'm even more surprised that the accountant or someone will tell me, yeah, this is possible to do that. And when I compare to the same kind of question I asked my accountant before, over there he would tell me immediately, no, this is not possible because after, if we have a control, we won't be able to justify it. Here they would just tell you, this is possible, but if one day maybe we have a control, but maybe we will have to do it this way. But in the end of the day, what you want is that at the end of the month, again, you maximize your company profitability, right? Because again, I don't know, you invest some money, you are doing business here, you want to give yourself a salary, you want to maybe get some dividend as an investor, you want to be able to reinvest and to, if you can get some tax incentive, you can do it here as well. And I feel here that it's more open. Again, maybe is it correlated by the fact that here in Vietnam is just opening, so incentives are more willing to be done, or just because, again, it's emerging, so accountants, lawyers know that there are some gray areas that they can go. I'm sure it's mostly this way. But when you just are here to do business and to try to do something with your own hands, right? I feel it's more a tax incentive country and a tax-friendly country. And it's not hard to say it as well, right? Because France was, I think, in 2020, the #1 most taxed country ranked by OECD. And I think now they are the second most taxed country. So, of course, I'm talking about my experience doing business in France. So I'm not choosing the one that is the most tax efficient, right? But still, when you think about France, which should be a very open country, very good for startup, and then when you see here a country that is supposed to be very communist, is supposed to be against, people who are wealthy, then when you really operate here, when you really maintain a company, work with locals to deal with the tax authorities, find how you can optimize your taxes, you may be very, very surprised sometimes. And of course, sometimes, again, it's just using and going in the direction that there are still some tolerance and there are still some ways to do it that way, because taxes, government, or just the way people do it here, it will be more easy and more common ways to do. So you have, again, also what is written in the law and what how you should do it, like officially, and you have how people commonly do it. And when you really see the gap, sometimes you are amazed and sometimes you are like, wow, so if we can do it this way and if we can save a lot of taxes, then you can start to do it at least, and then after you figure it out how you can be more like fitting and matching the box, for instance, that you're gonna be in, rather than just it's not possible at all. So this is also the last myth I wanted to share a little bit, because when of course you want to start something, if you have, I don't know, $5, $10, $20,000 on the side and you want to invest that money to operate and to do business, sometimes doing it in emerging countries, for instance in Vietnam, of course I'm here so I'm going to promote a little bit Vietnam on that direction, I feel that it will be more easy to get started. Again, it's not everything is easy, everything is transparent, and it's always the best country to do business. But when you compare, again, my French perspective on doing business in France and my now a little bit more Vietnamese perspective to do business here as a foreigner in Vietnam, sometimes I'm amazed and I'm surprised how here we have more opportunity. So here is for the 5 myths and the 5 misconceptions most of the foreigners have in Vietnam. Again, I'm including myself in those 5 misconceptions, because 7 years ago I didn't have the same information I have now about Vietnam and the same experience. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just feel free to leave a comment below and share me, did you have and did maybe some of my 5 misconception you find it interesting, you find it maybe wrong as well, right? Maybe you can tell me that no Guillaume, you are totally wrong on that because XYZ. I'm always willing to get criticism, feedback, so don't hesitate. Take like 1 or 2 minutes to write me a comment below. For sure I will read it, and you have 99% of chance that I will answer it below, so we can continue the discussion together about that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video again. Feel free to leave a thumbs up, and I see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.
And I'ma get it right. Then